back. You're back with Nick and Glenn, Digglesauce and Reputed G, a.k.a. the champions of last week's DraftKings tournament.
Champion of the world.
Right? Both taking down first place, splitting with 45 other friends of ours in an insane chop after we somehow got on the optimal lineup without talking to each other. And I got convinced by your Bronson play, and I lost a fish bet. You clearly won a Zion shirt, which is nice. You won a time machine. You got in the time machine with your DraftKings winnings. You went back to 2004 and bought a Zion shirt. So congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, I got this at TriStar up in Montreal when I was there years ago. I was on a business trip, and my suitcase, I think there's a photo of it somewhere, it had a gi, boxing gloves, like mitts, like wraps, all kinds of stuff, and then like one pair of slacks and a shirt on top. And my whole trip was like, all right, I'm going to work for 3 days, and I'm going to wear the same clothes, and then I've got all my MMA gear. And I went there, and I saw Firas Zahabi like in the little cage in the back room, and there were like guys like just like, I saw things there that I've never seen, like in my like mega amateur level. Like dudes just kicking a huge heavy bag for probably 45 minutes straight, just over and over and over, like bailing on it. And you see it, and it's like, it was cool. It was real cool.
Yeah. Well, Firas is one of the best of all time. I love hearing him talk, and obviously what he did with George is incredible for a head coach. But shout out to Firas Zahabi. Shout out to hopefully the 25th and 26th subscribers, because we're actually winning money. And if you guys want to watch, we're telling you exactly what we do. So we're actually winning money. This isn't bullshit. We're not trying to sell you anything. This is actually totally free. And we're just trying to help you beat the bookie, because as our old friend Uncle Joey says, I never met a bookie with a part-time job, so they're doing okay.
Yeah, last week was awesome. So we got first place in the big tournament, the $15 100K to first. And the crazy thing is that there was cheers, virtual cheers. I got drinking the 15% stout here.
I got to, get a little Spanish wine with my winnings.
The crazy thing about last week though is like, you would think if we're both gonna somehow hit it, and it wasn't like we changed like shared lineups or anything. We talk about which dogs we like and stuff on the video, but then we just pick, and so we go through it and make lineups. And there was one, because of the favorites that were so obvious, we both hit. And then but you'd think it wouldn't happen in a week where there's 15 fights. Like the biggest card in history is the one where we're like, oh yeah, we got it, it's fine. This week is the one that you should smash. There's only 11. Like mathematically, if you can start eliminating people, you can get close.
Yeah, and we'll get right into it. But so what's great about this too is I've been looking.
The notes are ready.
I've been looking, and honestly, I feel like we get a fight every week for the rest of our lives. So thank you to Uncle Dana. Shout out to him. So let's go into it. Our main event here, we're doing the top to bottom. We're contrarian. That's how we play. So Shahbazyan, Edmund Shahbazyan, against your friend and our pal Derek Brunson, who's been around for a good amount of time. And I'm trying to remember the time we were at a bar, and I believe we watched a Brunson fight against Anderson Silva. And
no, against Adesanya, maybe.
No, it was against Anderson Silva, and he lost that fight.
Brunson?
Yeah, he fought Anderson Silva at a Buffalo Wild Wings, February 11th, 2017.
They physically fought in the Wild Wings?
No, I was there. That's where we were, but they fought in the Buffalo Wild Wings in the television set.
Standing room only in the bar area.
Yeah, which shout out to Buffalo Wild Wings, which we will never be able
at all.
Because you'll never be able to go there again without wearing like a full body quarantine suit. So
I'm gonna try and go in a week, and I'm gonna just wear Kevlar and a helmet.
Yeah, try to keep yourself safe out there. So all right, we got Brunson and Shahbazyan. My take on Shahbazyan is this kid uber talented. Just use the word uber. And I'm not even German. That's your people.
Yes.
So yeah, he's super talented. I feel like I've been watching highlight videos of this guy since he was like 11 years old. Him and his brother, both super talented prospects, coming up through the ranks. Shahbazyan has shown us really, really good striking, but we know he's been grappling for a really long time. It's just we don't see it a lot. But really, in terms of striking, he's fought 6 rounds in the UFC. He's had 4 fights, and he's pretty much dominated every single one. So, um, you know, when it comes to Derek Brunson, I mean, I don't think Derek is going to have much for Shahbazyan. I mean, in terms of what Derek's trying to do at this stage of his career, he's trying to utilize his wrestling more. He used to just kind of blitz in round 1 with his chin in the air. He took a lot of knockouts. He had a lot of first-round finishes. It was an exciting fight style. I miss that Derek Brunson. I wish we could have him back. But now we have more of a boring, methodical Derek Brunson.
He's old, right?
That is not as physically talented as the Shahbazyan. And I think that this one is pretty easy. What makes it difficult from a betting or DraftKings perspective is that on DraftKings, you got to pay for Shahbazyan, and you're not getting the 5 rounds. So keep that in mind. This is a main event that's 3 rounds. And part of that,
I didn't know that.
And part of that makes me believe that Uncle Dana knows, just like he did with Zabit Magomedsharipov, that this guy's, number one, he's not ready for 5-round main events, and he's not exposing him to that. So they are trying to build this guy. Everything's in his favor. I don't see Brunson as being the guy to knock off Shahbazyan. I keep calling him that because his name is hard to pronounce. But, I think that that this just has, Edmund winning 2 rounds very comfortably. If he loses a 3rd round, okay, but it's not like he's going to get brought to deep water in a 5-round fight. I think the over-under is 1.5 rounds. Shahbazyan inside distance is pretty good at -155. So, I mean, I think that's a fair line. From a betting perspective, DraftKings perspective, I just think you kind of smashed the button here.
Yeah. So I think the same thing. Like basically Brunson is 36 years old. He's been knocked out several times now. The last time he knocked someone out was like 4 years ago. He's slowed down. He's more of a wrestler. Like he's like old man fighter now. So he's big on grappling and control and like hitting a little bit, but really just trying not to get hit. This isn't a good fight for him. Like, I think because he beat Ian Heinisch a year ago by decision, it's like, okay, like time to go up the food chain. And so now you have like this like mini champ they're making with Shahbazyan, and he's going to get smashed. So the thing about it, the difference really is like when you watch it, you know what Brunson's doing. Like he's going to swing powerful shots that are mostly going to whiff, and he's going to try and like hold you up against the cage or grapple you a little bit. I think Shahbazyan can out-grapple Brunson and take him down probably like at will. And I also think Shahbazyan has much better striking. Not only is it way more powerful, but it's clean and technical. So it's like straight punches, combinations, hard kicks. And that stuff's going to damage Brunson, whereas a lot of what Brunson throws isn't going to like damage Shahbazyan in a way where it's going to slow him down. So I see him just kind of beating the snot out of Brunson for like a minute and a half. And then probably Brunson tries to grapple. They go to the ground and he just finishes him. I think it's going to be a fast main event. The only way that this fight can get dragged out is if Brunson is like feinting and like really on the outside, like trying to counterpunch the whole time, or if they're like stuck in some grapple in the cage exchange for like a round. But I really don't think it's going past like 1 or 2. I just think that Shahbazyan hits too hard. And for an older guy who's been knocked out, it's likely he gets TKO'd.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing that is just wild as hell to me and just is so 2020 to me is that so Edmund is like one of the most talented prospects in the division, correct? I think we can all agree on that. And he's coincidentally managed and trained by the same guy that managed Ronda Rousey, Honda Housey. And that guy, by all accounts, is like a total shitbag. And I don't understand how this guy keeps just getting these guys to the top of the mountain. So, Shout out to Edmund.
You know why?
Trainer of Honda and trainer of Edmund, but
I'll tell you
these
partially
people
why.
are so talented. I mean,
It's because they give them fights that they can win, and they let them develop a little bit.
yeah,
Like
that's a good point.
Shahbazyan's UFC career, like this was one thing I was a little concerned about. He wins a Contender Series first round TKO. He fights Darren Stewart for 3 rounds. I'm not surprised he didn't knock out Darren Stewart. The dentist is a tough man. But he's also like now UFC debut. He wins a split decision. Fine, he's learning. He TKOs Charles Byrd into the next dimension. Marshman, no surprise, sub first round, and then KOs with a head kick Brad Tavares. But he set it up with like he almost knocked Tavares out like with 2 or 3 different punches in the first round.
And then Brad Tavares, I mean, listen, I'm not going to talk too much shit about Brad Tavares. He's just a little past his prime. It's going to be a similar situation with Brunson. He just can't hang with the young man. So smash the button and move on.
They gave him fights he could win and let him grow as a fighter, and now he's fighting better guys. And I think that's the lesson a lot of these guys got to learn. Like they're trying to jump. Like take 5 fights against guys that are like low level. Or your level.
And well, what's smart about it is that he's taking fights against older guys he can build a name off of.
Yeah.
I mean, Brunson was a former contender. So, I mean, that's a good name to put on your resume.
Brunson's he's entering the middle of like the challenge in the division.
Yeah, so I think this is certainly a showcase, and in terms of DraftKings exposure, I think you probably want a lot.
You almost can't lose, unless Brunson holds him down and rains 190 shots to the face unanswered, and then TKOs him in the first. There's almost no way you can lose. It has to just be like a total fluke Brunson win for Shahbazyan to not score well.
Yeah. So we'll go on to JoJo Calderwood and Jennifer Maia, which I think you're gonna be surprised. You might be surprised by my take, but I think JoJo is good here, and I don't think JoJo's legitimately lost a fight in years. I mean,
why would I be surprised by that? Because she's the favorite here.
Yeah, she's the favorite here, and rightfully so. I don't think Jennifer Maia's. I've heard some underdog betting going on and some talk about Jennifer Maia. I think this is a bad decision, and I actually think Calderwood Calderwood
go with Maia.
Yeah, I think Calderwood could score well here, and I'm going against the big brain computers. We watched Calderwood live against Chukagian, and she won that fight. There's no convincing me that she didn't win that fight. We had her as a dog in that fight.
She did win.
She got totally hosed. And Chukagian, I believe, just recently fought Maia, so that's a common opponent.
Yeah.
And Chukagian put up a gigantic score against Maia because Maia is slow and prodding and very hittable. And so I think JoJo is a strong bet in terms of just putting her in parlays and just winning a fight at minus 145. I like that number. I'm going to bet that number. And of course, from a DraftKings point of view, 8,700, she's going to be really low owned. But if she gets in the optimal, it's not going to shock me at all. I mean, I'm going to have a lineup with JoJo.
So I like
Chukagian. I think took down DraftKings cards against Maia. I mean, she took down those cards because she was like 8,500 and put up just a massive score because Maia just stands there and gets hit in the face.
Here's the thing, though. If you look at the Jennifer Maia, you can look at it right now on DraftKings. Look at Calderwood and look at Maia when they fought Chukagian. So don't worry about how Chukagian beats them. Just look at what they did to Chukagian. Calderwood lands 112 strikes and 3 takedowns and scores 71 points in a loss, which should not be possible. Because I think we're pissed because that night Chukagian scored less DraftKings points than the person she beat. I'm almost positive Chukagian scored 65 points, and the person that lost the fight scored 71. Shouldn't be possible.
She didn't do any damage. She wasn't dominant. It was a horrible decision. But anyway.
But Maia, on the other hand, when you look at her, and I got it right here, when she fought Chukagian, she landed 58 strikes and 1 takedown, scored 37. It's literally half the output. And that's a trend across all these fights. So you see, when they're fighting these people, Maia has typically about half the output that you see Calder would have, and she almost never has a takedown except Chukagian, where she has 1. So you have a girl who does double the output, lands takedowns, which the other one doesn't, and is probably just all around a better fighter, right? So it's like, this to me is a no-brainer. Like, I think this is the safest bet on the card, and Calderwood's going to
Yeah.
score well. Like,
I can't believe we're agreeing so vehemently here on a, like a woman MMA fight at this level. I mean, this is a smash, right? Am I crazy?
No, I think it's a smash. This feels a lot like when Jermaine Durandamy fought Aspen Ladd, and Jermaine Durandamy was like plus 250, and I was like, Vegas, I'm here. How much can I bet? And I was all over it. I bet on it. I was on vacation when it happened, and she literally like just sat her down on her ass in the first round and was like, have a good night. And they probably stopped that fight too early. But I mean, it's like a powerful girl versus a weak girl. A girl with big strikes versus no strikes. A girl with takedowns versus no takedowns.
I don't think you're going to see like a huge side. I mean, they're both at their proper weight class. I mean, this is
the only way Maya wins this is if she, again, fluky jiu-jitsu move. Like when Calderwood takes her down and is smashing her, if she throws up a triangle and Calderwood didn't have her coffee this morning and like somehow gets sucked in, like that's the only route to success, and it's not a bet that you make.
Yeah, and okay, so who we look at?
It's like a haymaker.
Yeah, okay, so she in the level of competition that Calderwood has fought, I mean, is impressive.
That's the other thing.
She's beating girls that can fight. I mean, beats KGB Lee, who can fight. She beats Chukagian. Don't care what it says. Okay, Chukagian, title contender. Beats Lipsky, who obviously people are in love with. Faria is not a real fighter, but she dominates her and subs her in the first round. Calvillo, she loses a decision to, who, you know me, I'm super high on Calvillo always. And also, then she lost to Andrade. And Andrade is a beast. So, yeah, I mean.
But that's going back like almost 5 years. And her game is more well-developed at this point.
Yeah, she's getting better. So I think JoJo Calderwood is the bet. I'm gonna smash the button, and I'm going to bet probably my kid's tuition on it. I mean, he's coming. He's not here yet, so he can't argue with me. He can't do anything about it.
Also, the other thing too is like if you score 71 in a loss against Chukagian and 94 in a win against Lee. Let's just say you score 95 points on average against like higher end competition. Typically, when you fight someone worse than you, you're going to score more because you're going to finish them earlier or you're going to land more strikes or whatever. So this, she's trending like around 95 points when she wins and against the Chukagian screw job. But I think it's possible she does like 110, 115, 120. Like it could pile up if she's on top landed strikes.
And she doesn't even have to be on top. She can be on her feet, just throwing volume and hitting her in the face. It's fine with me.
Yeah, but the grappling points and the striking on the ground could pile up. Like it could be a TKO in the first round even, or the second, maybe even better.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be a stoppage other than like she's just completely overwhelming and dominating the fight to the point where the ref is just like, okay, this has to end.
Right, but that could happen because this is like a big step down. And Calderwood filled in on short notice, I think, too.
In this fight?
Yeah, I think so.
Don't love that, but she's really. We'll have to look at that a little more.
Just look at the weigh-in. Like if she looks like weird or something, that's the thing you gotta look at. Like I don't think, and we can verify it, I could be wrong, but I'm almost positive that's what I read. I think she stepped in late, which I think is fine because it's like a weaker opponent. And she's gonna come in and pound like. This isn't going to be like a difficult fight. It's someone who throws half the output of what you normally see, and no takedowns.
Okay, it was about a week ago, so she's filling in. She's got a couple of weeks though. I mean, I think she'll be all right.
It's going to be fine. This isn't like also, these girls are typically like they're not cutting like 40 pounds to get down there. It's like they're also, smaller people.
The other thing. Calderwood is like saying like I'm not going to wait around for a title shot. So I mean, she feels that she's at the top of the division.
Yeah, because Chukagian just fought for the belt, got hosed, smash. But Calderwood beat her, so she's like, how is she not at the top?
Right, agreed. And so she said she's not going to wait. But I'm sure she's ready if she's expecting a title fight. She's not, hanging out and eating cookies.
Yeah, she might be getting ready. And probably it's like her turn on the bike. But, I mean, good luck and Godspeed. But I like her as a number one. I don't like her as a champion.
No. I mean, because who among us can I mean, that's only one girl's crown.
Yeah, you don't want to even get involved.
I'm afraid of saying her name because I feel like she'll like show up. Like if I say her name 3 times, she'll just show up and put me in the ground. She just put me in the ground. So I don't even want to say her name, but yeah, Valentina Shevchenko is absolutely one of the best fighters of all time.
Yeah, honestly, if I was Calderwood,
change my mind.
Calderwood might not. She probably wants to fight her just because you get pay-per-view dollars, and I don't know how much to make. Maybe that's like what you've been fighting for your whole career. But if it was me, I'd be like, I ain't fighting her. Just give me everyone else. I'll fight everyone else over again. I'm not fighting her. Like, I'll just keep taking my 50-50.
I'd rather take 4 fights a year, right?
Smash everyone.
Yep. Then take 1 fight, not be able to fight for the next 2 years because
your life is ruined.
Your life is ruined. Your face is broken. Your confidence. Everybody, disowned you.
Jessica I still doesn't know where she is.
Yeah. So let's get on to the next fight, which is actually, of course, anytime we get a Vicente Luque fight on the card. Vicente Luque fight on the card. We know it's going to be good. I mean, this guy is top 5 most entertaining fighters in the UFC. I mean, the guy just goes to war constantly. Won't have it any other way. And he's fighting Randy Rude Boy Brown. What do you think about this?
So I struggled with it a little bit. So the issue I have is, like, when you look at it, I think that Randy Brown looks kind of interesting. And when you look at it, you go, okay, like, what's going on here? He beats Warley Alves. Alves actually was, like, on top, pounding on him for 2 rounds before he got triangle choked. Brian Barberena looked like he didn't know where he was and, like, didn't throw punches and just slowly got picked apart until the 3rd round where he got TKO'd. Nico Price is laying on his back, hammer fist him, and knocks him unconscious, like, sideways on the cage, and one of the strangest TKOs of all time. And then he has a decision win over Mickey Gall, loses to Bilal. So what I'm seeing here is this. Opportunistically, he can TKO people or finish people in, like, the 2nd or 3rd round if they're not really whooping on him. Bilal Muhammad just, like, smashed him around and won a unanimous decision. It looks like he does have power because of his size, but I don't think he's, like, that aggressive. He's like a tall, skinny guy, and he whips his motions around. He's terrible on his back. I mean, it's one of those things where it's confusing because you see him fight guys and beat guys that are, like, kind of interesting, and then you see him lose against guys that are interesting. So it's like, where does he stand? When you look at Luque, though, it's the exact opposite. Luque has, like, 1 loss in modern history, and it's against Wonderboy Thompson in a decision. So Wonderboy outpoints him by karate kicking him in the leg for 15 minutes. Like, good for him. He stayed out of range and won. But besides that, he TKOs Nico Price. He split decisions Mike Perry. TKOs Derek Krantz. TKOs Brian Barberena. KOs Jalen Turner. KOs Chad LaPriest, which also hosed me out of a 6-6 win in DraftKings like 3 years ago. I mean, he's killing people.
You keep going against Vicente Luque, and I keep betting on him. And one of us, yes, you did. You took Nico Price, and you were wrong. Admit that you were wrong because you took Nico Price in that fight.
No, I wasn't wrong. That was a doctor stoppage, and it was fight of the night, and everyone loved it.
Yeah, it was, but it was.
And Nico Price was a dog. I took him as a dog.
It was clearly Luque's fight.
Because his eye got screwed up, but he is a dog. He looked pretty good, and if he had won, he would have scored a ton of points, even in a decision. Yeah, it was a fair bet. It was a fair stab at trying for victory. But anyways, I've seen. Anyways, he's fighting better, stronger, bigger, meaner dudes and finishing them. He's finishing almost everybody except Wonderboy, which he prances around a little bit. So to me, it's like, how's this going to go? Well, people are going to say Randy Brown is big. He's got range. He's lanky. But he also has no ground game, no base. He's taken down easily. And when he gets hit, he flies across the octagon. So I think it's super likely that Luque gets in there, probably eats like 2 or 3 kicks right off the bat, trying to get in the pocket, steps in and just hammers this dude to the head. And like I wouldn't be surprised if he like trips or like goes into the cage almost immediately after getting hit and feels the power. And then he's going to be skirting around trying to just kick him at range. And then it's just Luque going in the pocket to keep hitting him. I think Randy Brown's going to back down super fast. Like he'll be an old man fighter in about 2 minutes, just circling and trying to hit him at range.
Yeah, so I'm a huge Vicente Luque guy. I've always been on him. His skills are good. He doesn't really ever take up huge step ups in competition, but he continuously fights guys, and he has jiu-jitsu skills. He has ground skills. He has grappling, but he never uses it because he just wants to get in there and go to war. I mean, that's what
That's
he
how
likes.
he's getting paid.
It's how he's getting paid. He loves to do it. And I've watched every Luque fight for, whatever, the past 5 years. Love the guy. Randy Brown, I've also watched him over the past couple of years, and he has made improvements. They fought a common opponent in Brian Barberena. And if you remember that fight, Barberena actually gave Luque a lot of trouble, actually had him hurt in the fight because Luque just takes so many shots. And he was a little more careful against Nico Price. Didn't take as much punishment, but still, there were a few hairy moments against Nico Price. I think that this fight, Luque has to use the calf kicks, has to use the low kicks, which he does use. Randy never checks them. He gets hit a lot by the low kicks. Now, the thing about Randy that I like, though, is that he uses this nice push kick. He uses teep kicks. He establishes range with his kicks. If he's not throwing them naked and he's throwing them like in the right spots in combinations, it establishes his range really well. And he does have good, rangy punches. He has reach over pretty much everybody he fights, and he continuously looks better. And I will say this about Randy Brown, is that Brian Barberena has just a granite chin. And again, Luque knocked him out after literally a war in which he hit him with flush shots over and over and over.
Yeah, he'd never been knocked out before that.
And then, Randy Brown, every time he hit Barberena, it looked like it was doing something. He does have, it seems like he has good power in his hands. This is going to be a war. Luque doesn't fight any other way. And I think Randy Brown is a reasonable guy to target here. I think that if you're making DraftKings lineups, you need the winner of this fight because Luque, for whatever reason, every fight he's in, he just turns it into this brawl. And it's going to be a high output, high pace. And what I saw from Randy Brown in his last fight was that he's utilizing pressure pretty well. I mean, he is not what you are calling him, which is like an outside fighter.
I think it will be after Luque hits him. I think he's going to back off.
Okay, well, I'll say this. He hasn't done that in the past couple fights. And even Worley Alves immediately went to the grappling because he knew the striking he was dusted on the feet. So Worley went into the grappling, and Randy was active off his back. He was trying to get up. He's trying to look for triangles. He's trying to throw
I don't think he was trying to get up. He looked bad on his back.
He triangled him. He tapped him out.
I know he saw it, but for the first round and half of the second round when Worley was on top, he was turtled up bad on his back, and he wasn't turning into him. He wasn't doing basic moves.
No, he gave his back, and he didn't give up when Worley had him in a rear naked choke. Like he had him in a rear naked choke, and Randy never gave up. So listen, both guys are going to fight for your money. Will Luque die for your money? Absolutely. Luque will die in there for your money. But Randy's going to fight for your money too, because he was in bad spots against Worley, and he did not give up. He did not accept the position, and he continued to try to get out. So I thought that was very encouraging as someone who is beginning to see Randy Brown go on the ascension of his career because he has physical tools. And listen, at some point, Luque's chin is going to go. At some point, it's going to go. He's been in too many wars. He's been hit way too many times, and he just blocks punches with his face.
He's like in his prime, though. He's 28.
Yeah, maybe. But I just think
3 years, probably 2 years.
I think that Randy is a reasonable bet here. I think he's a reasonable dog on DraftKings. I'm not saying go all in on him. I'm saying go all in on this fight because one of these guys is ending up in the optimal lineup. There's no fight on this card that has this high of a pace. There's no fight on this card that has this high of a pace.
So yeah,
this is the shootout of this card. There's 11 fights, and this fight is a shootout. I mean,
if Randy Brown wins by decision, he would have to score something like, say, 100 strikes. Just throwing a number out there, like based on Luque's previous performances, maybe more than 100, but say 110. That's going to equate to 55 points plus 30. You're at 85 points because there's no grappling. It's good if you take him as an underdog at 85, but I think he's got to stop Luque to score optimally. Like if he scores a decision and beats Luque by kicking him in the legs all night, I'm not sure that's going to be on the lineup. If he finishes him in the second round by TKO, that's in the lineup. But I'm on the opposite. I mean, you can, if you like Brown as an underdog, I don't totally disagree. The problem I have is that the level of competition that Luque is finishing is way different than the level of competition that Brown is finishing. And also, he's losing to guys that are the same or less than Luque. Like Bilal Muhammad a couple of years ago.
Bilal's a good fighter. I don't want you to...
Couple of years ago, though. He wasn't as good a few years ago.
He was still pretty good. I mean...
He's better today.
Luque beat Nico Price, who you overrate. Luque lost to Stephen Thompson, who has an outside striking game and utilizes kicks like Randy Brown. He beat Mike Perry, who's not good at winning fights. Derek Krantz is not in the UFC. And then their common opponent, Brian Barberena. I mean, Barberena beat the shit out of Luke. And Luke hit him with a check left hook that sent him into the nether realm. But Randy Brown kicked his ass.
Yeah, but Brian Barberena didn't look the same when he fought against Randy Brown. He was on the outside.
Why is that?
I don't know.
Brian Barberena is bad all of a sudden, or is it because Randy Brown is pretty, he's a dangerous guy?
Oh, I'm not saying he's not dangerous, and I think he can beat some guys, but the difference was like Barberena didn't throw 100 strikes or whatever. Like whatever he threw at Luque, he didn't throw.
Because Randy Brown controlled the range to beat the shit out of him. Luque blocks punches with his face and gets into war with everybody he fights. He's been on the good side of those wars, but eventually that's going to come back to just fight him. I mean,
I don't think it's gonna happen tomorrow or Saturday or whatever day, because I just see better guys that he finished, and I don't think Randy Brown's the guy to dethrone Vicente Luque's run towards like the top. I don't think it's gonna happen. I think he's capable of losing in a lot of different ways. Like, who do you think has a more well-rounded game?
What?
You think Brown has a more well-rounded game than Luque?
I think Randy Brown's striking is probably better than Vicente Luque's. And this fight is going to be a war. It's going to be on the feet. Listen, is his durability as good? We haven't seen it yet. I mean, I don't know. So, I think that Randy Brown is longer. He has the reach. I think that if he gets confident in there, like he's styled on Brian Barberena. Like he was able to find his range and like absolutely piece him up, which Luque was never able to do.
Yeah, but the it's just the problem I have is like
that's the common opponent.
It's a common opponent, but Barberena hasn't looked great since that Luque fight. Like, I wonder if Luque took a piece of him with him, and he just hasn't been the same afterwards, because he's not like a world beater. Like, he looked crazy. He'd never been knocked out ever before he fought Luque, and then all of a sudden he's just like a chump against everyone. That doesn't make sense. Like, something probably happened to him. And also, like, great, you beat Mickey Gall in a 3-round decision. Like, that's not a win that you're like,
yeah.
I mean, even Worley Elvis is pretty old. Like,
yeah, but Worley, and
he's
that
okay.
fight,
He's
like,
okay.
Worley's pretty good, and Worley also, listen, and Brian Barberena has not fought anybody since Randy Brown. So he fought Luque, and then he fought Randy Brown. But my point is, like, Worley just tried to initiate a grappling heavy game plan because he knew he couldn't strike with Randy Brown.
But that's also largely his plan. If he can get a guy down, he's going to
Worley
take him
is
down.
not like a horrible striker. Like we've seen Worley strike before. So what makes him like, okay, we have to grapple with this guy because whenever we're on the feet, we're just getting destroyed.
And also when he took him down in the first round, he didn't get up. He laid on his back and just got hit and held down. Like he didn't stand back up.
Well, he got almost put in a rear naked choke and he got out of it, which,
And then he was on his back later. Like, I think he took him down again because he's like, why not? Like, it's easy money. Like, come with me.
And then he got tapped out.
He did. And if Randy Brown knocks out Luque or TKOs him or subs him or whatever, it'll be a whole different conversation after that. I don't think it's likely. I think it's more likely that he gets hit in the head hard by Luque once, and he's like, what the hell was that? And then Luque is going to just march on him, and he's going to kick, and Luque is going to keep walking in and keep swinging. And whereas Barberena was like trying to bob and weave, and he was walking all over the octagon. It looked like two completely different fights. Like when he fought Luque, they were just toe to toe. When he fought against Brown, he was really walking around a lot, like burning a lot of time. I think there's probably something wrong with Barberena, but overall, better quality, better finishes, better opponents, better, I think, probably power and just like gut is on Luque. And that's why I'm taking him. If Brown wins, it's fine. If he wins a decision, I don't think it's optimal. I think he has to finish Luque. I don't see anyone doing that. Not yet.
I think that's fair. I think I'm going to disagree with the take, though. I think that it's going to be a war, and you want the winner of the war. And I think that Randy Brown has a reasonable chance to win a stand-up war. In fact, I would probably favor him in a stand-up war with Vicente Luque.
Yeah, his output's slow, though.
I think the striking is pretty good.
I'm not saying he can't hit him. I just think his total output's low, and I think he's going to get hurt. Like, I think he's going to feel it when he gets hit.
And that's the thing about Luque, is he's going to try to turn everything into a brawl, and that's good for Draftkings scoring, though. We want that. We want those brawls. I mean, that's awesome. So, I think if you favor Luque, you should definitely put him in your lineup, and if you favor Randy Brown, you should definitely put him in your lineup. What's interesting about this, though, is Luque is 8,800, which is a great price tag.
Yeah,
because, right. He's going to score. He's going to beast his price tag if he wins. Same thing with Randy Brown. I honestly don't see a scenario where these guys don't score 100 points, like the winner.
Well, the scenario is Randy Brown by decisions, not 100 points.
It's probably pretty close. I think it is, actually.
I bet it'd be like 85 because he'd have to score more strikes than he's ever scored in a fight.
True. Yeah, but I don't know if he will win by decision.
And he has no grappling. Like, he's not going to get grappling points. He's not taking a guy down once and scoring 5 or advancing. Like, it's pure striking. We've seen this with like Irene Aldana. She was my famous case study. She wins a great fight.
I'm not comparing Randy Brown to Irene Aldana. Like, that's not a comparison we can make.
It's a good comparison for striking points. She scored like 90 points. Like, it's almost impossible to just purely strike and score over 100.
Okay, that's a fair point. I think that Randy Brown can finish Luque is what I'm saying.
Okay, well, he'll be the first.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. So anyways, Luque is an optimal guy, right? We're saying?
Whoever wins will be optimal, probably.
Right. But if Luque is an optimal guy,
yeah, I like him.
We kind of get forced into a weird situation right off the bat because we are going top to bottom. And if you're starting to build a lineup, you have Luque, Calderwood, Shahbazyan. I mean, things get a little weird from there.
Yeah, but there's no telling how it's all going to shake out. So
we'll continue to march down the roster and see what we come up.
Yes, tell me about your slot fest.
This next fight is probably not. Wait, what was my slop fest? There was it's later. It's later.
Oh, okay.
No, this isn't it. This is actually this fight happened already. So if you saw this fight, this happened already. Lando Venata fought Bobby Green. It was a draw because Lando Venata got a point taken away from him, but he won the fight. He looked like he was going to score a ton of points in DraftKings. Lando Venata is very simple. He looks really great in the first round. He falls off in the second and third. If you can survive the first round, you're going to win a fight. So I've got Lando Venata in round 1, Bobby Green in round 2, Bobby Green in round 3. Listen, Bobby Green's not the most inspiring guy, but I don't think he's finishing Venata. If you're going to make a play from this card on DraftKings, and if you're going to make a play from a betting perspective, I'm probably, they're pretty evenly matched. I'm probably would take I wonder what,
they fought like 4 years ago.
So here's how I'm betting and doing this card in DraftKings. If you want to take a shot on DraftKings, I think it makes sense to take Venata, because I think that Venata's path to victory is likely a round 1 stoppage, because Bobby Green likes to hold his hands low and Venata throws spinning shit, and you never know what can happen. And Venata generally looks pretty good in round 1, but he just can't fight after that. So Venata to win in round 1 is plus 750 right now. So if you want to bet that with a small amount, great. But other than that, I don't have like a ton of interest in this fight, even though it's like going to tilt the shit out of me that like you need to have the winner of this in the optimal lineup.
So let me assuage your fears. I think that neither one of these guys is going to be optimal, unless maybe it's Bobby Green just by like a weird lineup build and he's an underdog by a little bit. So Venata's 8,200, Bobby Green's 8,000. The thing is like I'm pretty much fading it. Bobby Green hasn't scored 100 points in the 3 years when he won a decision over Coke. And it's like he scored 110. His strikes have been going way down from there. That's it. There's like one fight that he scores optimal in ever. So, yeah, I'm not on him. Also, Venata is kind of the same thing. Like, these are two kind of mid-level guys. Green is probably on his way out. Venata's still got some time on the clock. They fought before. They didn't finish each other before. I don't think they're going to finish each other again. I think it's going to, and if anything, it might even be slower than the first time. Just because Green is older, like 3.5, 4 years go by or whatever it is.
Venata, I mean, he's not.
Yeah, he's not getting better. Like, I don't think, anyways. So yeah, I think he just won a decision against Medeiros. He scored 80. Like, that's great, but if you're 8,200, I don't want you. I'm looking for guys who can score over 100. Anything can happen in a fight, but history and video and everything else dictate this is probably a fade. I'm largely going to fade it. I think I bet on the Rivers app today. I think I had a $10 bet on Bobby Green, like just for the heck of it, because I think as an underdog, he's interesting to win a close fight.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think the only attractive bet to me here is Lando Venata in round 1. That's plus 750. Just simply on how he fights.
Yeah, for DraftKings though, like, chances are this goes to decision and doesn't score well. So it's good because on a short ticket, 11 fights, if you can fade one fight entirely, you're narrowing the pool for what you have to pick. Yeah,
true. So we'll go to the next fight. Kevin Holland against Trevin Giles. Holland 100%. He's making major improvements. Giles is a full-time police officer. Yeah. One of our friends is a police officer, and obviously not the best months for police officers. I can't imagine this guy's got a real training camp. It's been reported that he hasn't.
Somebody said that?
Yeah. I mean, listen, I don't reveal my sources, but
I didn't hear that. I was just curious.
Yeah, I thought he was having some problems with his camp. Listen,
he did last time too.
Yeah, and he fought James Krause last fight, and Krause hurt him, and Krause was like 2 weight classes lower than him, took the fight on like 2 days' notice.
Yeah, so, it was like 1 day notice or something. Krause stepped in to help the UFC.
And I bet on Krause because I am full fading this guy till the cows come home. So I like Holland. I heard he pulled out of his last fight with a shoulder issue, but last time we saw him, he looked big, he looked good. Yeah. He knocked the guy out in the first round. Holland's a good play on DraftKings because I think he could finish. Because Giles has no cardio. If he can't, he might survive the first round, but after that, he's probably getting finished and probably getting piled on. So I like Holland. I like Holland inside distance. because I think Giles probably gives up after round 1.
So here's the other thing too. Is like I agree with all that. So we got take a deep breath. That Vicente Luque convo was like taxing emotionally. The Kevin Holland pick here. So he's filling in on short notice for the Iron Turtle, who's I think Chinese guy. I forget what his real name is, but
Korean,
his nickname I don't know what he is, but he's a bad fighter.
I don't know what he is.
He's a bad fighter. That's all I know. And he's the Iron Turtle. So the competition level that the UFC set up was, it said Trevin Giles, cop who doesn't have time to train. You're going to fight the Iron Turtle who doesn't have time to like learn how to throw a strike. So these two guys were going to clash, right? And it's like kind of a tough plotty guy versus tough plotty guy. Maybe that's entertaining. Well, Iron Turtle's out. They need a late notice replacement.
Mm-hmm.
Who's next on the list? Kevin Holland. It's like welcome to level 9. So Kevin Holland's going to smash this dude to pieces, and the thing that Giles does is like he throws like a jab, and then he throws like a hard right, and that's about it. And then he kind of sucks on the ground. And Holland is like the exact opposite. He's like throwing combinations, kicking to the head, and is awesome on the ground. And the level of competition that these two fought, and that's a big thing, is like Iron Turtle competition or like Brendan Allen competition. So Holland's only loss recently, I think, was to Brendan Allen. And Brendan Allen is going to be super deep. Like, he's going to be a number 1 contender or somewhere in that ballpark pretty quick. So if that's the only guy that you struggled with, and you were winning against at times, like you were beating him in the fight at certain points, I'll take him all day. Like, I'm going to ride the Kevin Holland train as long as I can. Trevin Giles beats Kevin Holland. I don't know. I don't. It's a fluke punch or something, like or like a freak injury. It's like another haymaker shot. I think Holland's going to win. I think he's going to hurt him. I think it's going to be on the ground. I'll probably sub him or TKO him in the second round.
Yeah, I agree. I think the only concern is that Holland doesn't finish him inside the distance, which isn't that great of a concern, but I mean, it is a concern. Because Holland, the reason he lost to Brendan Allen was because he got tired from the grappling exchanges. So,
but that was real grappling. Like, they were going hard for 15 minutes.
So we'll both be on that train, the Holland train. And then we'll get to this next fight, Martinez against Sands. Frankie Sands, man, we haven't seen him in a long. Well, 2009, he got KO'd by your guy Chito Vera. But he does hold a win over Merab Dvalishvili, which is cool for him because Dvalishvili is going to be a real tough customer for anybody coming forward. But Martinez, up and down career in the UFC. He shows some decent striking. He's never going to be like a champion level fighter, but he's okay. He throws good knees, throws good elbows, has some accurate striking. Sands is really, really old. He's like
38, 39.
39. This is one of those where I'm going to look at this fight on the scales, and I'm going to see how Sands looks. If Sands looks bad, which I suspect that he will, I think Martinez is the play, and I think, this is another where you just go with the chalk because fuck, man, how's this 39-year-old going to beat Martinez? Because I think Martinez is going to try to stay away from him, and Sands is going to have trouble wrestling him. It is a small cage, and Sands is going to, always go into his wrestling. And also, I believe it may be a southpaw versus orthodox situation, so he may be able to try to get a single. But Martinez is kind of shows decent balance. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I see it for the old man. What do you think?
So I think that Sands isn't enough of a dominant grappler to say this kid's in trouble because he's going to get taken down. Like, he might get taken down once, but what I do see is that Sands has like a problem with getting knocked out. When he fought Chito Vera, and Chito Vera jabbed, like he basically threw like a jab. And he just dropped him. And then he hammer fisted him debatably in the back of the head, but he was TKO'd. It was over. I think it's super likely, like, the power differential and the kicks from Martinez are going to be a huge difference. And also, Martinez throws, I think it's a left kick. He throws it
Body
super
kick.
hard. Yeah, he throws it to the liver. And the announcers even comment on it. They're like, when he fought against Andre Ewell, he kicked him like so hard in the liver. Like I think he stopped him like 2 or 3 times with body shots where he's like, oh, like crumpled up. So I think it's totally possible. Like if you're hurting young, healthy guys who are fit, a 38-year-old's gonna feel something like that and he's gonna drop. Like I think there's like I wouldn't be surprised if Martinez gets like a second or third round TKO or like drops him when they stop the fight. I think it's just a power differential. And also the thing is Martinez and a lot of these guys he fights, he has to engage because they're again like these outside distance fighters or whatever. Like Andre Ewell is like just trying to kick and not get hit. So he has to engage. But when guys are coming at him, like Sainz does, like Sainz is coming at Chito Vera like nonstop, like kind of like almost sprinting in the pocket to hit him. I think he's going to get popped. Like I think it's
and one weapon that Martinez really has, other than the body kicks, which are very quick. Like when he throws kicks, they look very good. One thing he has I really like is his knees. He's kind of a taller fighter. He can knee people, and he uses them up the middle as a counter. So if you're coming into wrestle or coming into pressure, he uses his knees very well. Yeah. So listen, I think Martinez could be sneaky here.
Yeah, I like it.
A sneaky finish early, and it could be early, could be in the second round. I'm wheeling him definitely in some DraftKings lineups because I like
the also I think if you just look at the total strikes landed, it's just a little harder to calculate, but it seems like he's on average throwing more strikes in 3 rounds, even in a loss, like he lost to Ewell or whatever, but like he's throwing more strikes typically than Sainz is. So if you have a way to beat the guy in a decision and a way to potentially stop the fight, I like that. Even if the decision's close, I think it's going to look real bad for Sainz when he's charging in there and getting jabbed in the face and backing up. These judges are going to see it and be like, not going well. It's not going well. And I think he'll probably stop him too. 38, man, your odds of being subbed are low and your odds of getting knocked the F out are very high.
Agreed. Good odds. Handicapper. That's why they call him the capper, baby. So are you ready for the sloppiest fight in history?
Yeah, you think this is it?
Are you ready for the sloppiest fight in the history of the earth?
All right, tell me. Explain
Ed
yourself.
Herman and Gerald Mearshart.
I thought you were going to say Bobby Green and Venata, because I don't think that's going to be beautiful either.
No, but this is going to be a slop fest. Mearshart coming up 2 weight classes. I believe Mearshart was formerly a welterweight. Then he went to middleweight. Looked bad. Now he's going to light heavyweight.
Yeah.
Because he just wants to eat cookies and hang out. And so we've gone from 170 to 205.
He also wasn't fit at 185 either. Like he's never been ripped.
No. And Herman, and like one of the things that, you're going to say is, well, the middleweight is going to be faster than the light heavyweight. And that would be true.
Faster at doing what?
That would be true if you're in shape. But you're not. So Herman and Mearshart are going to go to the middle of the octagon, and they're just going to throw bombs at each other until one of them dies. And I'm pretty sure that's going to be Mearshart because he looked bad in that knockout against Heinisch. I don't know if he's got – I'm not going to say he's a chin problem, but I mean, like anybody he – like listen, who has he beaten in the past?
Duran Win.
I mean, who has clearly exposed himself as someone who's not. We can't trust.
Duran Win racked him too, I think.
Yeah,
he lost to Heinisch. He got knocked out. Like I was actually surprised how bad
your
that
boy Trevin Giles.
Yeah, right. Congratulations on your Trevin Giles win.
Spicely, we'll talk about. Spicely, we will talk about. So don't worry about that. So. I actually love.
Yeah, so it's just like a who's two of. If you're even halfway decent, you're gonna crush Mearshart, and if you're not, you'll lose.
I'm all over Ed Herman in this fight. Call me crazy.
You're breaking. Okay, so I am also taking Herman as a dog. The problem I have is that I watched Trevin no, actually, Eric, like all these guys he's fought, who's the most like Ed Herman? Because he's fought a lot of guys. He's fought 10 guys. And Eric Anders is probably the most similar stylistically. Like a big muscular guy who can hit hard but has little technique and no ground game. Right. So they go in there and
Herman has a little bit of an offensive wrestling game from his old days past, but he doesn't want to use it anymore. He doesn't want to use it.
Yeah. So it's basically like just beating. So like who's gonna beat the other guy, like physically just like beat. And I kept having this image where Herman was just throwing elbows at Anders' head and like uppercutting him on the cage and stuff. And I was like, Herman's in here to fight. Like he's game. He wants to fight. He wants to hurt someone. And as I'm watching this Eric Anders footage, I see Mearshart just throwing like double jabs and 1-2s and backing off. And every single time Anders would get close to him in the pocket, he'd run away. He'd literally like, he wouldn't circle. He'd turn and like jog away to get some distance and like separate again. That's old man fighting. I don't like it. I'll take the bigger muscular guy who's in there throwing elbows trying to finish you. The path to victory is like if Mearshart becomes a grappler. Like at some point I had this image of him as like a grappler because he wins by submission in 3 of his 4 wins here in the UFC. No, more. Like 5 or 6 wins.
Style of grappling terrible. It's like,
but here's the thing: his grappling isn't like Kron Gracie jiu-jitsu. No. He's winning by rear naked choke in the 3rd round, guillotine in the 3rd round, rear naked choke 2nd round, that was a KO, but armbar, and then early in his career he beat some real like guys I've never heard of.
Low level guys.
But in modern history, against like mid-level prelimish kind of guys, it's all late subs where basically people are exhausted, and he's like crawling on them. Mm-hmm. I think 205, like Herman might just send this guy out. He also looks bad when he gets hit. Like he does. Yeah. It looks like he's not doing well. And let me see how old he is, but he just looks like when he gets hit, he's really feeling it. And if you can connect 2 or 3, or like I imagine too, like Mearshart coming in on his legs, like grabbing him, trying to get a takedown, and Herman's just like dun dun dun, and like drops like 3 elbows to his head, and he's out. Like there's a real chance Mearshart gets knocked out, and not even just because the Heinisch thing. Like he just looks like he gets shook every time he gets hit.
Yeah, I mean he's fought a bunch of times. I think he's shop worn at this point. I mean 30-12 record. Never really won over anybody notable. Just not very good. And now he's moving up a weight class on short notice. Herman is an old man, but this could look bad. This could look really bad.
So Herman smashed Kadis Ibragimov, who we were talking about a week ago, who got destroyed.
Yeah,
but he literally beat the life out of the dude. Like he was elbowing him in the face. He was uppercutting. Like he was throwing aggressive strikes and trying to hurt this guy. Mm-hmm. And he knocked out Patrick Cummins too, which is great. Like you should knock him out. But before that, you go a little bit further back in 18, 17, you're in the 16s, 15s, 14s real quick. And you look at this and you're like, well, why did he lose to CB Dalloway? And you're like, well, it was almost 5 years ago. And CB Dalloway wasn't like a total like mental patient at that time. He's like fighting in cutthroat MMA on the south side of Chicago now for sandwiches and, free passes to the local strip club. I mean, he's like totally done now, but he wasn't necessarily totally done in 17. And he was fighting some of the best guys around at the time.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those fights. It's just 2 guys that have been veterans; they've been around. But I got Herman, and I think you do too. So we'll go on to.
Also, I'm taking him. So here's the last point on this: is that I think Herman's a safe dog, because if Mearshart wins by 3rd round submission after landing 17 strikes in the fight, it's not optimal. Like, even if Mearshart wins in the 3rd round, it's probably not optimal. So your upside is like, this dude's a can anyways now, and Ed Herman potentially blasts him in the 1st or 2nd, and you have Ed Herman on the optimal lineup at 39 years old.
What a world. So we'll go to Ray Borg and Nate Maness. The only thing I have on this fight really is that I think this is a setup fight for Ray Borg. I think he has good management. I think he avoided the fight with Merab because he was going to get destroyed. And I think they know he needs a win here, and I think this is a setup. Like Nate Maness is not very good, can't wrestle. I think Borg's just gonna put him down and continuously mat return him until the cows come home. And Nate Maness is pretty long and tall, right? But I don't. Do you see anything here?
You're cutting out, sir. You're cutting out. You got to turn off naps. Oh no, sorry, technical difficulties.
I hear you.
Technical difficulties. We're fogging up there for a minute. All right, we're back. We're good. We're okay.
Yeah. Are we?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Mostly okay. So you think it's a setup fight for Ray Borg to win, to get a win on the board and keep fighting?
Yeah.
Here's the problem, though. I looked into this one deep. I was on Facebook pages. I was messaging old girlfriends. I was doing all the work. Ray Borg is 5'4" and has a 9-inch reach disadvantage in this fight.
Yeah.
That's, I think, higher than John Jones.
Nate Maness is a tall dude. I do know that.
He's like 5'10" or 6 foot or something, but he has a 9-inch reach advantage. That's like, I mean, it's like basically giving a guy a stick and saying, keep this guy away from you. So that's part of the problem. And I wonder if the size is going to be so big that it causes a problem for Borg. Like, if you're fighting a guy who's just so much bigger, is he able to do things that normal guys can't? Because every other guy that Borg's fought is like 5'4", 5'6", 5'5". This dude's going to be way, way bigger, but also just like he can literally hit you like almost a foot away. Like, you're not even in the pocket yet, and he's hitting you in the face. Mm-hmm. So I'm worried about that. I think Borg's whole game is just like, all I do is take people down, and that's it. And I'll do it 10 times if I have to, but that's what I'm doing. It's really hard because all the footage on Joseph Nathan Manis is him in a tiny octagon fighting, and what you see is just striking. There's almost no footage of him ever on his back, or even in like a grappling exchange. In the one that I saw, there's a guy in TKO, which is like a Canadian outfit. He fought a guy named like Claudio, a Brazilian, that he tried to take him down, and they grappled a little bit, and he did take him down with a single leg. That's the only takedown I ever saw, but it was also the only attempt I ever saw. The takedown didn't look like it was that difficult or like anything crazy happened. It was just like a single leg. He turned it the right way, and he went down. So that's the problem. Is like, you're trying to figure out with a guy who has no footage and no one's ever seen before, more or less, can he be taken down 10 times by Ray Borg and controlled? And also, is the massive frame difference going to be a problem, a big enough problem for Borg where he's going to not be able to take him down or get stuffed or whatever? And that's kind of the dilemma I have. So I'm kind of debating splitting this one, where I do some lineups with Borg just to fill him in, and then I do some with Manis, because if he stops Borg in like the first or second round by TKO, that's probably going to be pretty good as an underdog too, because Borg is one of the more expensive guys. Paying up for Borg, it's like you need 10 takedowns. So you need a good, like an excellent performance from Borg, or just like a huge like gangly man stoppage of Borg for the underdog play.
Yeah, I don't think we get either, so that's how I'm going to play this fight.
You think it's just going to run the course?
Yeah, I think Borg gets a few takedowns. I think Maness kind of taps him in the outside, but I think this is a pretty Borg clear decision. But I don't think it's like a dominant performance, because I don't think Borg is necessarily a dominant fighter at this weight class. So I think that people like him. He's got, he's managed by Khabib's manager. I mean, there's a lot of like good sentiment towards him in MMA. I feel like they want him around because he can be in entertaining fights. Like the fight with Ricky Simone was pretty entertaining.
And Casey Kenny.
Yeah, so I mean, I think they want him around, but I don't think Maness is gonna pose enough of a threat from an anti-grappling standpoint. Just because what I've seen was kind of the same thing. Like, just from a positional, like, again, you're only judging on like one or two takedowns.
But I looked at every TKO video I could find. Like, I looked at everything that's out there.
I saw his wrestling. I mean, it wasn't anything special. So,
there just isn't much though. There's not a lot of data.
So we don't know. Maybe he's good, but he doesn't have any credentials. So that's our problem too. Is if he doesn't have wrestling credentials, we can't trust anything. So okay. So anyways, that's kind of
It's a hard fight to decide exactly how it's going to go because there's just not that much information.
right.
Like
So
there's just not.
what we do have information on is Eric Spicely being really, really bad.
All right, so just to sum it up, though, you think it's going to be a boring decision for one of them and not be optimal?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay. I think Borg probably wins. I'm just debating whether or not he's going to score enough. Because I think also a 3-round fight in the UFC with the bright lights. Manis is coming in. Like, he's not had that many 3-round fights. A lot of his fights stop in the first round with a KO. And he's fighting dudes, like, for sandwiches. I mean, these are, like, outdoor, 50 people watching, small-time events. This is going to be a little bit different, I think.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we get Marcus Perez, Eric Spicely. I like Marcus Perez a little bit. What do you think? I think Spicely's super bad, man.
Spicely's the worst. So I made a bunch of notes on this fight because for about half an hour, I was online and I was typing in Marcus Perez, like flipping guy, backflip guy. And the problem is I was confusing him with Michel Pereira because Perez walks out with like a Joker mask painted on and like does crazy stuff at the walk-ins. And I like some point just got him confused with Pereira, who's the backflip guy. So he is not the flipping guy and he wears a Joker mask. The big difference here, if you just look at DraftKings, is Spicely's output is terrible, but he only strikes. Like modern day Spicely, he covers up when he gets hit, which is a no-no. Because if you just cover up and sit there, more punches will follow, like where you're not covered. His power is way lower than Perez. Perez, my fear here is like, and the reason why he's a prelim fighter and on the main card is his gas tank's an issue. His total output is also an issue. Like he throws ones and twos. He throws a lot of spinning stuff, a lot of flashy stuff. He throws everything with power. He's tough. Like I'm not worried about him getting knocked out or subbed or anything like that. He's okay on the fence. Like if you're grappling, he can defend himself, but he's slow to get out of the fence engagements. It tires him out, and then he's tired for the rest of the fight. Against Eric Spicely is going to come in there. He's going to throw his jab. He's going to throw his kick. It's going to be like yada, yada, yada. And Perez is at some point going to hit him really hard. The question is like, can Perez finish Spicely? That's more or less what it burns down to.
I think absolutely yes.
That's probably what a lot of people think. I think so too, but I'm a little apprehensive because he has 2 wins by sub and 2 losses by decision. And a sub isn't a TKO. So I'm thinking, and the world's thinking, like he's going to beat Spicely down into a puddle of gravy and eat him. And he probably should because he has the power and the technique and the ability. I just worry about his like game plan, his overall like gas tank, fight IQ, stuff like that. That's where I could see him getting in trouble. He's good though. Like he has all the potential. I know why they signed him. Like he's an actual athlete versus a fat old Canadian. I don't know what that's worth to you, but like it's worth something. There's a lot of upside to Perez, and if someone could teach him to do less capoeira elbows and like more 1-2s, he would finish more guys.
His inside distance line is plus 135, which is not bad for that price range.
But for the power, it's bad. Like that's probably telling you something.
Holland winning inside distance is the same line, man.
Yeah, I'm actually slightly worried about Holland scoring because like he's been good lately, but if he doesn't win or if he gets caught in like some terrible scramble for a round or two, it's like he might not score that well. But that's why you got to make more than one lineup. Like unless you're me, maybe you, and you just solo shot the big game last week. But I don't know if that was the best lineup I had out of 10. I put it in that one. I'll tell you one. If Spicely wins by decision, which he shouldn't, it'll be egregiously bad. He's going to score 60 points. Not optimal. You don't want him. If Perez wins, he's going to have to outscore Spicely or finish him. And the finish is probably more likely. Even like bang him up on the cage, sub him somewhere or another, it's likely. Let's look at Spicy real quick. This is the thing, is I think it's decision. Like, I think Perez can win a decision or a finish. So I like that as a bet. Spicy's lost his last 4. And somewhere in between there, he fought 2 like amateur fight or like pros, but outside the UFC, and won. He threw 108 strikes against Deron Winn, which I didn't see like 50 of those, but that's what they counted it. And Deron Winn, I think, landed like 180 or something. So best case scenario, Spicely's going to score between like 47 and 80 points in a win. That's not optimal. You don't want that no matter what. He's not going to finish Perez. There's no way that's going to happen. So all the upside is on Perez, who's the favorite. So you got to take Perez in this.
Yep, agreed. So Valiev and Emmers. I'm a big fan of.
I already know. I know what you're going to say.
What?
I know what you're going to say. Go ahead. Just you say it, and I will. I have no way to tell what's going to happen, but. Go ahead. Just tell me, and I'll tell you.
What am I going to say?
I think you're going to say, I have been doing some research and talking to some people in the shadows, and underneath a streetlight that went out, I heard Timur Valiev is a hot prospect out of Russia.
I mean, he is.
Okay, continue.
Yeah, he is. I mean, need I say more?
Yeah, okay. Carry on.
That's all I got. He opened at minus 300, and now he's minus 168. So the world believes that Jamal Emmers, wrestling pedigree, is going to probably keep this fight standing, and Emmers has had some good moments. My problem with Emmers is his fight IQ sucks ass, and it's absolutely terrible every time you bet on him.
Well, he's only fought once in the UFC.
Didn't he have the Contender Series fight as well?
He might have, but
he lost probably.
He might have. Actually, he might. That might be right. Let's double check the stats.
So we've never seen Timur Valiev in the UFC.
No, right? He didn't. He fought in the LFA before that.
LFA, that was it. LFA. So we've never seen Timur Valiev in the UFC. I don't know, man. Is this guy for real? I'm on his Instagram page. It's pretty amazing. It's just all watches and knives. I don't know if this is the right guy, but anyways, I don't know why I always go on fighters' Instagram pages when we talk, but yeah, he what I saw was like pretty impressive wrestling. What did you see? I think we're having connectivity issues.
Dog forms, everyone's on him. The problem is he's really small. He's like significantly smaller than Emmers, almost comically small, and he throws blind kicks consistently that people are just grabbing and then like throwing backwards and throwing him to the mat. His output is slow. Like he's not fast. He fights like a heavyweight Dagestani. Like he throws one at a time and then he's zipping around. Emmers fought Giga Chikadze in his debut and actually won rounds against Giga Chikadze, who I know you're not super hot on, but Giga Chikadze does hit hard, does throw feints, and can't be taken down very easily. He took Giga down and also at times was dominating the striking also. So losing a decision in your debut to Giga Chikadze, I think that also tells you where the UFC thinks he is and his skill to throw him in his debut against him. So they didn't give him like a prelim guy. They gave him a guy who's like on a main card level, I think almost now. And the Timur Valiev, I think they're also saying, okay, listen, if he's this hot guy, throw a guy who's bigger than him, throws more output, can handle takedowns, stuff like that. And we'll see if he can
I think that's the question. You're talking a lot of shit, but Joe Emmers has not shown any fight IQ in the UFC, and I think that from a grappling perspective, because he's fought Chris Gutierrez twice, and he lost a split decision and then beat him, and he used his wrestling to beat him. And I think Chris is probably a better striker than Emmers. I think we're going to talk about that next, but Chris Gutierrez is a pretty good striker, uses kicks very well. And I think, Valley of.
But how long ago was that? How long ago was that? Like, it's a couple of years.
On my head, I know that I saw the footage.
Like, Emmers has one fight in the UFC.
Okay, so, right. But I'm saying is that Valiev beats Gutierrez and doesn't lose after that. And that's so even if that was years ago, is he getting worse? I mean,
no, I don't think it's worse. But so this was the guy I was telling you. If you Google his name and Google Translate and convert it to Russian, if you just type in Timur Valiev, there's not a lot of footage. But if you switch it to Russian and copy and paste it and put it in, all of a sudden the videos pop up, and you can watch his last fight. And in his last fight, I was watching it, and I wasn't impressed with what I saw.
Okay.
And so that's what I'm taking a lot of this from, is not like hype videos or highlights or anything. I watched his whole last fight in Russian. I didn't understand a word they were saying, and he didn't look good to me. And he fought, and I think he lost too.
And I'm saying that Emmers, he didn't lose because he has no losses, I think, other than Chris Gutierrez, recently at least. And I'm saying I've watched Pretty Boy Emmers, who was a model, and he hasn't beat anybody good. He lost to Julian Erosa. He does have a win over Corey Sandhagen in 2017, which is super impressive.
But also the size is going to be the big thing. The biggest thing I noticed is like Valiev is really short.
Okay, so maybe I'll just admit that I don't know what to do with this one, and I'll take shots on both and call it a day.
Which you can do whatever you want, but I think that the physical gifts goes with Emmers. And what I saw is that he fought a competitive fight against Chikaze, who's his own size. I think that it's going to be really hard for Valiev to avoid just eating kicks at range and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and straight punches at range if he can't get him to the ground. So Valiev has to obviously use wrestling, but Emmers has a wrestling background, so realistically he should be able to keep the fight standing and should be able to outstrike Valiev. I agree with that 100%. My only thing that frustrates me is that I'm betting on this guy, and it's going to piss me off because I know that he's going to try to defend takedowns with chokes and do stupid shit and just probably end up losing. And
I don't think so though. I don't. And to be honest, the biggest favorite for me on the whole card is Emmers. Or for dogs. The dog I think has the best chance of winning is Emmers, which is probably super counterintuitive because I think a lot of people think Valiev's good. But I think that coming to the UFC and being a lot smaller than Emmers is going to play a big part. And I was keeping track of strikes, like on a notepad. I was like marking strikes for Valiev. I think Emmers is outstriking at like a casual pace, so he can win a decision. I don't think he's going to knock out Valiev, but I think he's going to win a decision. And so as a dog, if you win a decision with like some advancing, a few strikes, like it could be okay.
Yeah, we got to look at the size difference at the weigh-ins, I think.
That's what you got to do. Look at the weigh-ins, and if you see that it's like a massive size difference, then you have to assume this, and they're both want to strike. Valiev's output is slow. Like
Valiev doesn't want to strike, man. He wants to wrestle.
So that's my whole point. I think take a look at that. But from when I watched the video in Russian, that's when it seemed eye-opening. Like I knew people were into Valiev because he's friends with Zabit, and they took like a photo together, like they're in Home Alone. It was like the two burglars, like the curly-haired Zabit and the little guy with the black hat on was Valiev. But I think that
I think people are rightfully hot on Valiev because he hasn't lost in a very long time, and he trains out of Jackson Wink, and he probably has a good game plan. And Emmers just hasn't shown a whole lot in the UFC, so. We keep having technical difficulties.
Yeah, which is fine. But I'm on Emmers, and I'll put him in like my normal percentage for dogs. The last one, tell me your Gutierrez picks, and then we'll wrap this baby up.
Yeah, we're having some technical difficulties, so I think we should wrap it up. Listen, I looked at a ton of the Cody Durden footage. I want to believe. I love that he fights like a boxing match, an MMA match, a kickboxing match,
That
all
was
in the
great.
same night. He's gonna fight for your money. He's gonna fight for your money, but is he a guy we can trust in DraftKings? Probably not. But I don't think Gutierrez is gonna have as easy of a time as you think he is. I think it's gonna be a little bit of a dogfight, and Gutierrez is probably gonna have to check himself and play a range striking game because I think Durden is going to want to get in his face and bang.
Yeah, so I think the same thing. Like the edge goes to Gutierrez, but Gutierrez is like minus 350. And when Mike was like, "Oh yeah, I took Gutierrez at minus 210 or whatever," I was like, "Okay, like that's cool because you got good odds." But I was like, I'm not sure he's going to win entirely. Like there's the paths for victory for this Yahoo Cody Durden. He fights with ATT, right? So he's on American Top Team. He's a pro fighter, but he fights out of Georgia, so he's not like at Mount Olympus with all these guys down in Florida. He's at like a satellite location that looks very much like your local like kickboxing gym for ladies in the middle of the day. He fights okay, like he strikes. He has some grappling, like he has like a pretty good mix. He's aggressive. He's not fought anyone that looked super imposing or hit him back, though, is what I saw in his highlight reels.
Right.
Like, the difference in the UFC is, like, you're going to get hit back. If you punch a guy in the face in Georgia and he backpedals and then you TKO him 30 seconds later, fine. Good for you for winning the fight. But when you get in the UFC, like, you hit a guy once, he's not going to buckle, or at least they shouldn't. And you're going to get hit. And you got to see how this is going to go. So the path to victory is if he gets Gutierrez down, because Gutierrez is like a kickboxer from hell. Like he throws nasty kicks, and I think the last fight too hyped him up way, way more than they should be. I think this fight should be more like a 60-40. Like Gutierrez should be the favorite for a lot of reasons, but not like a minus 350. No, I saw that. I thought it was crazy. He should be more like 60% chance of winning. I mean, maybe 70 to outside, but if Durden gets him down, Durden could win. If Durden gets 2 takedowns in 2 separate rounds, he could win the whole fight.
He could. Yeah. So I think that's kind of. I think that's it. That's what we agree on. I don't know if we have a fish bet this card, but we'll.
Well, we could do something goofy. I don't know. Like I think Emmers. Emmers is my favorite dog.
I mean, I'll take Valiev, I guess, in the fish bet, but
It's fish racking up, boys.
I don't love it. I mean, I don't love it.
You don't have to take it. Let's skip the fish bet this week. Let's take a breather. There's been a lot of red snapper in the last 2 weeks.
I would take Ed Herman if I got to.
I want Herman.
So, all right, we like these guys. So good luck in everyone's contests, and
So the dogs, the eyeball though, real quick, just because I think we're pretty much agreed on most of it. Is Martinez a favorite? Herman, potentially Manis.
No, I like Randy Brown much better than Manis.
No. Manis versus Borg.
Yeah.
Randy Brown from your column. Potentially Manis, like a little bit. I want to go crazy. Potentially Emmers from my camp. And if you want to get dirty, use a little Durden. But I think he's still like a pretty low level guy.
Yep. Same. Avoid. My avoids are Jennifer Maya, Trevin Giles, Derek Brunson. I'm avoiding those 3.
Yeah,
probably avoiding Spicely too.
Yeah, avoid Spicely. Even if Spicely wins, he won't be optimal.
If we can eliminate guys, I think that's a good thing. I mean,
it's going to tighten up the list.
Even if we don't agree on everything, but I think we all agree on those things. And I mean, Sands, it's tough to not eliminate him. I'll probably keep him off the board as well.
Hey, that's why it's a real pod or YouTube or whatever video this thing is we don't always agree, but we can agree to have a cocktail together next time and enjoy the fight. So good luck. Any questions, comments, please subscribe.
And I'll probably win first place on an Emmers lineup now because you got me on him.
I hope you do. Send us a comment. Thanks, guys. Good luck.